Okay, good morning. Good morning, all. I will go through a formal welcome in a second, but in light of what happened on Saturday night, I would like to do a moment of silence for the fallen St. Croix County Deputy, Katie Lysing. So if we would just bow our heads for a couple of minutes. Thank you. And thanks to all of the law enforcement officers, EMTs, fire department people, everybody that runs into danger like that. So first off, good morning. Thank you for being here. First off, and I will, on behalf of the St. Croix County Economic Development Corporation, the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau, St. Croix County, the Office of Community Development, and also the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition. Welcome to what I hope is to be the first annual tourism conference for St. Croix and Pierce counties. My name is Mark Garrity, and what I know about the tourism industry has been an on-the-job training exercise since 1985. 1985, I was asked by Buck Malik, who was here, at that time was on the county board, to address the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors about possibly dedicating or acquiring the Chicago Northwestern line between Hudson and Richmond for the purpose of establishing a bicycle trail similar to the Elroy Sparta Bike Trail. Would have connected the outskirts of Hudson to actually downtown New Richmond. And during the course of the presentation, the response was, bikes, what the hell do we want to spend money on bikes for? Well, you're going to see why we spend money on bikes. And as a bicyclist, today is very important. I practiced law for 38 years and had nothing to do with tourism. In 1989, sitting around my conference room were a group of us who were at that time board members of the Hudson Chamber of Commerce, as it was called. And we had learned about something called room tax, and that room tax was available. And so we were going to apply to do that. And reading the statute, it talks about having a tourism bureau. And where does the money go and who's going to manage it on behalf of the entity, and that was the city of Hudson. So I was educated by my friend Dwayne, the late Dwayne Bakke, who was the former CEO of Norlake, which was a refrigeration company, nothing to do with tourism, but his son was a hockey player. And Brett, as he would pack up the vehicle, Dwayne would pack up the vehicle to go on these various hockey tournaments. He started talking about, that's tourism. It finally came to me, Mark. It's tourism. I fill up the car. I get the groceries. We go to the hotel. We buy the food there. We do something else. We come home. We buy a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, whatever it is. It's all tourism. Thus was created the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. And as a result, we have Mary Claire here from the Tourism Bureau and Chamber of Commerce. I am also the chairman of the Tourism Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. We have here also today the individuals from the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, and thank you all for the work that has gone into this. And it's one of those things where they will say, don't let Mark talk about economics and bicycling because he'll go on forever. Well, I'm kind of like the guy that sells the can't remember the name of it, but it's the outdoor furniture, and he's talking about his business. So we have today experts to talk to you, not me. And that is Mary Monroe Brown is here. Thank you for coming all the way from Madison. She is the director of the Wisconsin Office of Outdoor Recreation. And she will outline for you the benefits, both fiscally and physically, of outdoor tourism and outdoor recreation in the state and the St. Croix Valley. We also have here Brett Budrow and John Hilgers of the St. Croix County Department of Community Development, who will address the issues and projects in St. Croix County, including the wonderful St. Croix County parks, the trails, the bike routes, as well as the bike and pedestrian plan that was established approximately 6 years ago next week. Frank Cook is here. Frank is on behalf of the WIKI, has nothing to do with WikiLeaks, it's WIKI, W-I-K-I, which is an acronym for Willow River and Kinnickinnick State Parks. And they have established through the WIKI Mountain Bike Club, the mountain bike trails at both Willow River State Park and at Kinnickinnick State Park, and Frank will go through that with you as to the number of miles, how it was constructed, and specifically where the funding came from, which is so important. Rosemary Mansfield is here from the St. Croix Valley Regional Alliance, Tourism Alliance, SCVRTA, which is an interstate organization that is really unique because it runs both sides of the St. Croix River from its start up at Solon Springs all the way down to Point Douglas, where the St. Croix River joins the Mississippi, and the communities in between. And so you have received a copy of the St. Croix Valley Guide. Take time to look at this. Sidelight, 3 years ago, a month before COVID kicked in, Mary Claire and I and Bill Rubin and Beth Schomer and others were down doing lobbying work for a day, the 12th of February of 2020. This magazine was the most popular thing with the legislators when we were talking. And specifically, they would be talking to us and they're going, God, this is so beautiful. I just love the St. Croix Valley. Please take time to look at this. It's really good, and Rosemary does a great job. Evie Nurbon will also be addressing the halo effect, as will Mary, Rosemary, and Evie. And so, specifically, we're going to do a little switch up. Director Brown has to leave by 11:30. So, after her presentation, we will do questions and answers with the director, and then we'll take a break. And then we'll move into Brett, Frank, Rosemary, Evie, and with the closing, and then we'll do questions, and if it's some sort of panel discussion, that'll be great. Also, I want to send a shout out to the Wisconsin Bike Federation. They have been gracious enough to provide you with copies of this. Whether you're a bicyclist or not, please take one of these with you. They're in your spots. It's extremely important from the standpoint of talking about tourism, because the last third of this is all laying out community celebrations surrounding tourism. And it also lays out funding options and what you may do. Simple things as putting paint on the road in a street to slow down the traffic, to make it available and make it safe for people to get out and use the facilities. So, and back to my script, excuse me. And also, the department has provided materials for you also, and let's see, make sure I have that. Visitor's guide, yes. And the purpose of the gathering here is to plant the seed. To plant the seed to the people that make the decisions as to what will go on as far as, be it recreational tourism, be it planning for better communities, that this came about, we were ready 3 years ago to go on the 2nd of April when the world shut down. And so this would have happened 3 years ago. But I was up in Polk County for their, and Mr. Johnson is here from Polk County, and their excellent seminar again on dealing with outdoor tourism. And they have a different dynamics there because they have so many lakes and cabins, etc. So the hospitality industry is part of that, as compared to here, where we're on the doorstep of the Twin Cities, where trails come to, and I'll use the example, and this is with all due respect, if one rides the Wildwood Trail out of Woodville down to the Pierce County line, it's unfortunate because I'm hoping that this will spark the decision, how do we get rid of that big berm that's as high as the ceiling at the Pierce County line on that trail, so that we can't continue on into Spring Valley and on that trail. So this is like getting the seed catalog, as I'll use the example later, that you get January 5th or 6th, and you sit down and you think about, what is my garden going to look like? What's my yard going to be like? Oh my gosh, those are beautiful azaleas. I'd like to plant those there specifically for this area. How do we think after we leave here so that you have materials? And lastly, Susan Heiser, who I point out, she's back in the back corner, she welcomed you in. She has put together that 6-page document that is in your packets as to funding sources. You're not going to be able to just fund what we're talking about here by grants, et cetera. There's got to be a commitment by the governmental agencies to say, this is what we're going to do, and be it an 80-20 match or whatever it might be, that we're going to get behind this for the betterment of our communities. So Susan has put together this outline, which is really phenomenal, as to the governmental things, starting with the feds, state, and then the private NGOs, if we want to call them, for that materials. All right, so we'll kick it off with Director Mary Monroe Brown. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for the introductions. It's helpful to know who's in the room and all of the interest and passion behind what I'm going to talk about today. I want to thank Mark and the St. Croix Bike and Ped Trails Coalition for the invitation, the discussion about tourism routes to the future. And I'm glad to share the many benefits and impacts outdoor recreation can have for your community, including attracting visitors. As you may know, this week is National Travel and Tourism Week, and I've had the opportunity to be on the road helping Secretary Sayers celebrate the ways Wisconsin tourism industry is moving forward. It has been incredibly exciting and reaffirming to visit several outdoor destinations and attractions, including Wisconsin's North Woods for the Governor's Fishing Opener on the Phillips Chain of Lakes, the new Aaron's Nordic Center in Brillion, and a new championship disc golf course in Chippewa Falls. There are community assets for residents and for the local economy, supporting jobs and drawing visitors. Today I'm excited to share how tourism and outdoor recreation are drivers of Wisconsin's economy. As we discuss today, you'll see how they are intertwined and supportive of each other. On behalf of my Travel Wisconsin colleagues, I'll share the economic impacts of tourism. Then we'll dig into Wisconsin's outdoor industry and how communities have leveraged the outdoors to grow their economy. Then we'll wrap up with a brief review of the resources of the Wisconsin Office of Outdoor Recreation that we make available to you as part of our work supporting the industry. So let's begin with a quick look at the power of tourism. In 2021, Wisconsin had 102.3 million visitor trips, and those trips resulted in a lot of money being spent throughout the state. The graphic shows how visitor spending weaves its way through our local and state economy. Let's say that doing research on travelwisconsin.com, a group of friends from Chicago go on a 3-night vacation to explore the St. Croix Valley. They spend money fueling up their car for the trip and purchase a state park pass to test out some of the new mountain bike trails in the area. They spend the night in one of those area hotels, bike at Kinney in the morning, stop at Tatterstall at the refreshing beverage and lunch, then hit Willow River in the afternoon. Dinner that night is at Post American Eatery with a nightcap at Hop and Barrel. The next morning, the group gets an early start with a quick but delicious breakfast at Keys Cafe before riding the leisurely St. Croix River Crossing Loop. And after the last ride, they take a stroll through the downtown to pick up a souvenir or two. The dollars this group spends as tourists go directly into the local economy, and then those dollars continue to circle through the economy. For example, the earnings gained by these local businesses pay wages to their employees, which circle back when the purchases are made for construction, technology, agriculture, food, medical, and so on. Dollars spent in tourism support stability and growth in around many other businesses. It means that whenever tourism dollars are spent, local communities and families feel the positive effects. So how much are we talking? In 2021, the economic impact in tourism in Wisconsin was $20.9 billion in total business sales. But it doesn't stop there. $20.9 billion in total business sales generated $1.4 billion in state and local tax revenue in 2021. This is money that helps pay for our roads, schools, programs for the elderly, and more. Tourism sustained 169,700 full and part-time jobs. While the Department of Tourism won't have the final 2022 economic impact numbers for a few weeks, what they've seen for preliminary data is really encouraging. According to the U.S. Travel Association, Wisconsin visitor spending grew faster than the national average last year. This preliminary data is exciting, and the Wisconsin Department of Tourism's annual economic impact report will be available June 5th and will incorporate travel data from dozens of data points. Looking at tourism impact locally, you can see how important the industry is in St. Croix County, where it generated $188 million in total businesses sales, resulting in $12.8 million in tax revenues. It also supported nearly 2,000 jobs. But here's the really important thing about tourism. The economic impact doesn't stop with the visitor. The halo effect shows that when we see people in Travel Wisconsin's ads and they visit us, their perception of Wisconsin skyrockets. So let's look at this chart. The orange bar measures the response of people who have not seen Travel Wisconsin advertising and have not visited in the state. The light blue bar measures the response of people who have seen Travel Wisconsin ads and who have visited the state. What this reveals is just how powerful the Wisconsin brand is. People who have seen ads and visited the state rate Wisconsin significantly higher than those have not in the areas including seeing Wisconsin as a good place to live, start a career, start a business, attend college, purchase a vacation home, or to retire. When you bring in a visitor, it doesn't just impact the local tourism industry. Hosting a visitor uplifts nearly every other part of your local economy as well. And how do we bring visitors to Wisconsin's communities? While motivators for travel run the spectrum, research is telling us that outdoor recreation is increasingly driving travel decisions. The outdoors is consistently cited as a top reason for visiting Wisconsin. In 2021, outdoor recreation was the number 2 reason for overnight trips in Wisconsin, second only to the non-marketable reason for visiting family and friends. While so many outdoor opportunities, Wisconsin's trends higher than the national average where the outdoors are the main driver for the trip, underscoring their importance to our state's tourism economy. And it's no wonder. Wisconsin's offering is impressive and remarkable. With 2 Great Lakes, nearly half of the state covered by forests, more than 15,000 inland lakes, 84,000 miles of rivers and streams, 2 national scenic trails, and so much more. And as you know, right here in St. Croix County, the list of outdoor assets and opportunities is long. From hiking and biking trails at Kinney State Park to the spectacular waterfall at Willow River State Park, these are 2 gems of the Wisconsin State Park system right in your backyard, to the boating, paddling, and fishing opportunities on the St. Croix River and world-class trout fishing on the Kinnickinnic River, and the scenic route of the newly finished St. Croix River crossing loop. With these amazing assets, and I'm sure many more I didn't mention, Wisconsin and St. Croix County in particular is a destination for travelers who want to engage in these outdoor pursuits. On top of all this, when we look at Travel Wisconsin's growth opportunity, we see that outdoor recreation is incredibly important to the 25 to 34 and 35 to 44-year-old demographic, where Wisconsin historically under-indexes compared to the U.S. norm. This demographic also matches the target market for the outdoor industry. As you can see here, this group is highly motivated by state parks and forests, hiking, camping, and scenic drives. They love beautiful lakes and water activities, and they want to be able to enjoy a wide range of outdoor activities in one trip. Hudson River Falls and the greater St. Croix County is a prime example of one of these types of destinations, bursting at the seams with outdoor recreation opportunities and full of vibrant, allied businesses like breweries, restaurants, hotels, and shops, which round out a visitor's travel experience. It's also important to consider trends. Outdoor recreation participation skyrocketed during the pandemic and continued to grow. Overall, the outdoor participant base increased by 6.9%, which means there is a growth opportunity to continue engaging folks. As mentioned earlier, when we discussed how tourism supports our local economies, the same is true when residents and visitors participate in outdoor recreation. Their activity of supporting jobs, from the gear manufacturer who designed and built the bikes or the fishing rod, the retailer who sold it, the land managers who built and maintained the trails, and so on. And when they travel, outdoors, spending money in communities where they can recreate. From the gas that fills their vehicles, to the snacks, to the groceries packed in their coolers, the gear they bought to outfit their trip, to trail passes they purchased. And we can see how communities with outdoor recreation amenities are benefiting, as studies show just how significant these impacts are for local economies. The thousands of people who came to Wisconsin to participate in our world-class outdoor events are a prime example of how outdoor recreation dollars grow. These events draw participants, spectators, and volunteers who will stay several days, dine in restaurants, and enjoy attractions. To name just two examples, the American Birkebeiner ski race injects $4 million into the Northwest Wisconsin economy in just 4 days of events. And the 11-day cycling series Tour of America's Dairyland is estimated to generate $2.4 million. And here you can see the significant economic impact that trails, land-based or water-based, bring to local communities. Kickapoo River Water Trail generates more than $1.2 million in visitor spending for rural communities in the Driftless area. The Camba Trails and the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest contribute $7 million in economic impact to the Northwest Wisconsin area from the 25,000 plus mountain bikers that visit each year. And in Southwest Wisconsin, the Cheese County Trail, used primarily by ATVs and UTVs, generates more than $15 million in spending for the area. We can also look at spending by specific activity on a statewide scale. Several outdoor recreation interests bring in billions to Wisconsin. Anglers, wildlife watchers, and bicyclists each generate more than $1 billion in economic impact for Wisconsin annually. These local impacts from the activity of outdoor recreation contribute to Wisconsin's outdoor recreation economy. But tourism spending is just one slice of the pie. Only recently has the outdoor recreation industry been recognized as its own economic sector, even though here in Wisconsin it has long been home to companies making bikes and fishing rods. There were stories selling sporting equipment, guides teaching skills and leading tours, and people building trails. And there were destinations attracting visitors based on the outdoor recreation economy. We've always had outdoor recreation and known it as a fun thing to do. But it's much more than that. It infuses our communities with revenue, provides jobs and commerce, and contributes to our quality of life. And this awareness continues to grow. The most recent data from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis shows outdoor recreation is more than big fun. It's big business, generating $8.7 billion to Wisconsin's gross domestic product. It's a major driver of our state's economy, and the industry continues growing. That 2021 figure of $8.7 billion is up $900 million over 2020. In fact, the outdoor recreation industry in Wisconsin grew 14.1% in 2021. That's more than 3 times faster than the state's overall economy. It also supports the livelihoods of approximately 90,000 Wisconsinites each year. These outdoor recreation jobs support diverse sectors, most notably the arts, recreation, accommodation, and food service categories. In fact, the largest share of Wisconsin's outdoor recreation jobs, 37%, support the hospitality and tourism sector. Another large portion of Wisconsin's outdoor recreation jobs are in manufacturing. Wisconsin is a standout for outdoor recreation manufacturing, a national powerhouse, ranking 4th in the nation for the largest share of manufacturing jobs in outdoor recreation. The state's industrious history and natural playground are simply an unbeatable combination, making Wisconsin fertile ground where world-class outdoor brands take root. I'm sure you'll recognize many of the brands on this map, from Bending Branches, the world's largest paddle manufacturer located nearby in Osceola, the world's most iconic motorcycle brand, Harley-Davidson Motor Company in Milwaukee. And while you might expect all of these brands to be located in urban centers, in fact, many support rural Wisconsin communities. And they're here because outdoors is a way of life. Productivity increases when employees can live out their passion and come back to work refreshed and energized. A national study completed in 2019 by Headwaters Economics found that recreation, especially in non-metro areas, draws new residents, higher income, and faster earnings growth than places without recreation. Wisconsin's outdoor assets and recreation amenities are part of this recipe, attracting businesses and workforce talent, supporting communities with improved quality of life, amenities, and generating economic impact. That's why the Wisconsin Office of Outdoor Recreation was created, to provide a central hub for the state's outdoor industry, to support a diverse industry at the intersection of tourism, manufacturing, transportation, community development, and more. We're connecting the manufacturers, the retailers, the outfitters, nonprofits, communities, and all levels of government. The office was established in 2019 as a 2-year project with bipartisan support within the Department of Tourism and was renewed in the last budget cycle, again as a project that currently runs through June 30th, 2023. We were so excited to see the governor proposed budget includes making the office permanent with 3 positions and a $282,000 budget, which will provide stability for our programming. While the budget process is ongoing, we are hopeful and are looking forward to be able to build on the foundation that we've set. Wisconsin was the 14th state and one of the first in the Midwest to create an Office of Outdoor Recreation. There are now 18 states with an office and a total of 37 collaborating with a national network of leaders across the country. Our work is strengthening the industry networks, advancing the outdoor industry, and providing focused support for a top driver of tourism. Together, our collective work helps grow Wisconsin's economy, and we're on the leading edge of the trend and well-positioned to capitalize on this momentum to benefit the state. It's critically important that these places, the businesses, and the people that activate and steward them are supported in order to leverage this exceptional outdoor product that attracts residents, businesses, workers, and travelers and provides a quality of life we all benefit from. The mission of the office reflects this belief. The office works to support and uplift the outdoor recreation industry and its partners for the economic health and overall well-being of the state and its residents. Just like other major industries are united by a leading group or association that strengthens the work of the individual members, the Wisconsin Office of Outdoor Recreation is strengthening the state's outdoor industry network, featuring connections to create new opportunities for collaboration. We work to provide resources, tools, inspiration, and connections that support the efforts of our partners, from destinations to businesses, manufacturers, guides, and nonprofits. I'd like to highlight some of these resources that may be helpful for your continued work building up the area's outdoor recreation infrastructure, industry, and culture. In your information packets, you'll find a one-page flyer created by the office about the value of outdoor recreation communities, which offers a few brief case studies and links to additional resources. We've also included the Wisconsin Biking Guide of an example of how Travel Wisconsin promotes outdoor recreation opportunities across the state. On our website, I'd like to direct you to sign up for our monthly newsletter, Wisconsin Outside, if you don't already receive it. It's filled with industry news, events, and resources, and serves up inspiration through stories of innovative collaboration. On our website, you'll also find a research library and more resources by topic. The research library includes the first of its kind report commissioned by the office in 2020 to illustrate the economic impact of outdoor recreation in Wisconsin. Much of the data we have shared in this presentation is included in that report. And this winter we released an updated report which includes figures from the BEA, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and can be found here in the research library as well. Along with these reports, the office strives to make resources and opportunities easily accessible. Last fall, we expanded the resource section of the website to provide research and data, funding opportunities, and additional resources organized by topic, including areas such as economic impact, participation, infrastructure, trails, and more. The Outdoor Business Directory was a first for Wisconsin's outdoor businesses and organizations. Launched in 2021, it's searchable by activity or type of business and is used to help connect this large and diverse outdoor industry. It can be a great resource for you, too, as you collaborate with outdoor businesses in your community. The office brings forward education on various topics and timely opportunities, pulling together partners and subject matter experts who share their expertise. Because of our involvement on the national level with other state offices of outdoor recreation and industry associations, we're able to connect with leading experts that share a national view on topics while also connecting with Wisconsin leaders to bring a state and local perspective. One of our greatest strengths is being able to gather partners to collaborate, resulting in new tools like the We Bike Community Toolkit and the Adventure with Care campaign. Both are accessible and free downloadable PDFs. The new Workforce Attraction booklet is an example of these types of collaboration. The WEDC people in the room, economic development, might be interested in this. It connects the dots between state agencies and shares our collective resources to create and deliver a tool to stakeholders. In this case, to help employers with the challenge of workforce recruitment. The 16-page publication titled Live and Work Where You Play, Outside in Wisconsin, positions the state as an outdoor recreation destination and a great place to work. It leverages our outdoor recreation culture, industry, and abundant offerings to give Wisconsin employers an edge over the competition in the job market. You can check out the booklet on our website, where an electronic version can be downloaded for free. Or if you're interested in a customizable version, you can work with the office to add local points of interest or a tailored company message. Another resource that helps showcase the wealth of outdoor opportunities in Wisconsin is the Wisconsin Trail Report. With the support and added capacity of the office to manage the dozens of volunteer reporters, the Trail Report was added to travelwisconsin.com, following in the footsteps of the popular Snow Report and Fall Color Report. The report's third season just launched, and if you would like to see more St. Croix County area hiking and biking trails included, we encourage you to share the volunteer opportunity with your local regular trail users to become a trail reporter. We also have an exciting project in the works that we believe is going to be a meaningful resource. The office has been working to create a central repository for collecting and sharing Wisconsin's vast outdoor recreation assets, like boat launches, swimming beaches, hiking and biking trails, and more. We've collected thousands of map files for select outdoor recreation categories from hundreds of partners to launch this growing inventory, and we're putting the final touches on this tool. Our goal for this visionary project is to create a clearinghouse, an outdoor recreation inventory for Wisconsin, and to make these resources more readily available to the public. Ultimately, providing a service to businesses and communities so you can access and utilize this data in your own projects. Stay tuned for the upcoming launch of the Wisconsin Outdoor Recreation Inventory this summer. At launch, it will include data for select outdoor recreation categories, and it also demonstrates the massive scope of this ongoing project. So we'll continue to invite more partners to help expand it. If you do have map files for outdoor recreation assets in your community, please reach out to the office. One more way the office is supporting the industry is through close collaboration with Travel Wisconsin in our shared goal of raising the profile of Wisconsin as an outdoor recreation destination. The office acts as a subject matter expert and lends capacity to the marketing and PR efforts like you see here. In the fall of 2020, the office helped secure Jenny Anderson, known as Girl of 10,000 Lakes, who comes from the Target Market of Minneapolis. She spent a long weekend at a cabin near Hayward. As an avid fisherwoman, the office made sure to connect her with a musky fishing guide and set up a tour of the St. Croix rod facility in Park Falls. During her stay, she and her family ate at local restaurants, canoed, and fished Wisconsin waters, and hiked a segment of the North Country Trail. Investing in these creators early is important. Jenny shared all of her experience with her avid social media followers, who take her recommendations as closely as one from a friend or family member. This gave us the opportunity to bring her back on a second visit to Wisconsin for a Great River road trip. Her following had more than tripled in about a year. The office arranged a St. Croix rod to use on her fishing float experience on the Mississippi River. In her blog, Jenny detailed the trip with great images like you see here, and called on her Wisconsin-made gear, the St. Croix rod and the hat and fishing shirt by DSG Outerwear. In these PR opportunities, the office shares its expertise and connections with the Travel Wisconsin team to deepen our awareness of Wisconsin's outdoor industry. In terms of marketing and promotional resource, the office is happy to connect you to the Travel Wisconsin team. Each region of the state has a regional tourism specialist that's your contact for these tourism-specific marketing resources, from destination assessments to grant funding to listing opportunities on travelwisconsin.com. In St. Croix County, your regional tourism specialist is Drew Nussbaum. Making these connections and providing resources and tools are some of the ways we've been able to uplift the industry in our short tenure. The way we see it, there are endless opportunities ahead. Working together, the office, Travel Wisconsin, destination, businesses, agencies, and outdoor industry partners, we can harness the increased participation outdoors, and we can leverage it to support Wisconsin businesses and communities to continue improving our recreation infrastructure and offerings that draw visitors and improve the quality of life for residents. Moving forward, we're continued to the constant work of strengthening and advancing the industry. We look forward to working with partners like you to stimulate and support industry initiatives that, one, raise Wisconsin's profile as an outdoor destination, increase economic impact, strengthen connections to opportunities and resources, recruit major outdoor recreation events, conferences, and meetings, improve workforce attraction, and grow the outdoor recreation infrastructure. We're here to be your resource. We'll work to facilitate the connections you seek or provide the guidance and resources you need next. We're working right alongside you to make Wisconsin a top outdoor recreation state for visitors, residents, workers, businesses, and to drive economic impact for Wisconsin. Thank you.
You're going to take some questions?
Sure.
All right. Susan?
I just want to say, I saw several of you looking in your packet for the flyers that Mary was talking about. They are out on the table, so when we have a break, go out there and look for what you purchased with them and take them, because she graciously brought them.
Thank you, Susan.
Yep. Mark.
It looks like you've been hiding your light under a bushel. Congratulations. A quick scan shows you were an awardee of the HMSAI Top 25 Innovators this last year. As your, let's give her a hand. As the secretary had been previously, so you're following in great footsteps.
Thank you.
I know you're both very data driven, and I think all of us appreciate that. And that connection, could we somehow obtain a copy of your slides so that we can study that data in the depth that it deserves? And then, I wouldn't give all that without a request. There's something about I-94 just on the Wisconsin side of the St. Croix River that means it's a place that a lot of Minnesotans and folks who live to the west of Minnesota come through on their way to spread out, whether they are going north to New Richmond and up to Polk County, or they're going south to River Falls and Ellsworth and so on. We used to have a visitor stop, a tourist stop right on I-94 at exit 2. And it just made no sense when it was removed because so many folk come by there. So, you know, if you're looking for things to put on your to-do list, I'm sure you're not. If you were,
I'll bring that back.
that could really, really make a difference. And my last request is a visit from the governor. If you and Ann Sayers and the governor and the Secretary of Natural Resources would see fit to come to Hudson and take a cruise on the St. Croix, we have the vehicle for you. The Rotary Group is planning an event on the evening of July 19th. 20. July, I'm looking at Abby because she and I work on the River Festival.
Okay.
The evening of July 20th. We have a ready-made audience. We have a cruise boat with a dinner cruise, you know, type of thing, ready to go, and we could just attach to that if your schedules allow it.
Sure.
We have requests in the works. Abby's
Okay.
sending in the appropriate forms
Okay, great.
for the governor's office.
Okay, and for Anna, and for Secretary Sayers. Okay.
Exactly. So
Yes.
there you are, 2 requests.
And no pressure, but we've also invited Minnesota to this.
Oh, this happens to be one of those great times in history when both governors are of the same party, so they can kind of
Exactly,
without
exactly.
sparks, you know?
And also, the chairman of the 2 major tribes for the St. Croix Valley
Yeah,
are also
yeah.
being invited.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
that would be a wonderful thing.
Great,
Could be
thank you.
great.
Okay, Bill?
Solid numbers on the economic impact from 2021. I'm willing to bet that those numbers hit a little bit of a drop off during COVID. Are they back up to pre-COVID numbers yet?
They've increased.
I appreciate that. Are they back up to, say, 2018, 2019 economic impact numbers?
It's straight uphill. That's the point. Yeah.
Looking forward to getting to 2022 numbers.
Right.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you for coming up to this side of the state. Just one question on the state budget. Will the Joint Finance Committee support what the governor put in the budget for the Department of Tourism? Any thoughts on that? I don't know if they've changed that or if they're planning on rewriting it or whatever.
I have no comment.
That actually
I will comment because at the State Tourism Conference back in March, Ann Sayers also, who is the Secretary of the Department of Tourism, can't comment, but she said numerous times, contact your local representatives and talk to the assembly people and the senators and make your voices heard on funding continuation and making the entire program permanent in Wisconsin. Outdoor recreation has proven their existence is well worth the money, and those are the guys and gals that will be making the decision. So hop on the computer when you get home and shoot me over to your place.
That's the perfect answer.
Yes. And there's no comment by the director. Any other questions?
Sure.
This is your time, Mr. Hanson.
Have you broken down what we see for daily spending on bicycle tourists when they come both to St. Croix County and across the state?
The numbers, that 188 million that you get, that comes from the tourism office, and so I can get you that formula of how that came to be. The over $1 billion in spending is activity driven in the state, and then the BEA numbers are actually gross output from manufacturing. So there's a couple different ways to talk about those numbers statewide and countywide, but the BEA numbers are only statewide, they don't break it out by county.
And a follow-up question, can you talk about the impact that our loop trail has had just for our area in terms of numbers, any evaluation of
I
that?
don't think you have an economic impact on the loop trail system
Okay.
yet, but you could develop them.
Right.
We have some models to help you with that.
Jill?
Do you have any specific data related to ag tourism? biking and folks going out to do picks?
I can see
Apple
if Drew has anything for this area on ag tourism. You know, it's a great idea in terms of marketing from that perspective and stopping to see farms on a bike tour. So it would be that these specific studies are based around impact studies that have been done. And then there's ways to measure tourism impact from other channels that the tourism department has from Travel Wisconsin. So I can connect you with Drew on those things.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So one kind of a comment and then a question. First of all, I love the little statistic in there about Wisconsin being perceived as a good place to go to college. And I think there have been some ideas floated in the past of tourism working with UW system to help market the combination of importance of outdoor recreation, tourism, and higher education in the state. So hopefully the secretary can maybe think about that in future planning in terms of advertising, ways that we can leverage the existence of UW system campuses when families come to visit, ways to really partner up on that, but also for student life and activities, the students themselves wanting to know more about what the recreational opportunities are that they have. So would welcome and encourage that. My question is completely unrelated, but something I've been very curious about, is do you have breakout of data on motorized outdoor recreation versus non-motorized? Because I know there are certain areas, Polk County I think in particular, where there's some contentiousness around the demand for more motorized trails versus non-motorized trails. So just curious if you have data on that.
Well, we have, so the BEA numbers that we get are by traditional activity. And so the Bureau of Economic Analysis measures the whole country's GDP, gross domestic product. And then in 2015, they formed a satellite office just for outdoor recreation. And so what we get are what's called traditional outdoor recreation categories. So that's biking, hiking, backpacking, hunting, ATV, snowmobile. But again, that is not based on activity, that's based on production. So Wisconsin ranks super high for biking because of trek and motorcycling because of Harley-Davidson because of production and headquarters in Wisconsin. And then the activity numbers that we get are based on impact studies. So the Cheese Country Trail did a study, so we have those numbers. Chequamegon area did a study, so we have those numbers. And we did help the Chequamegon kind of set that study up, and they did what was called a trail intercept study. So, and that just means you're intercepting them at the point of arrival at the place you're measuring the data. So they had people with iPads, at the trailhead. They measured it for certain times and days, and then from there built upon a few other, whether it was trail passes or a few other things. So the data we have, particularly to communities and counties, is based on the impact studies done. We just had the Governor's Council on Tourism. We hosted a special panel specifically on how to develop a local study. And so we can connect you with the experts in creating those studies as well. Does that help?
Thanks so much for your presentation. That was great. Really quick, if we wanted to get some of these documents, I know you said that we could get the PowerPoint, but certain documents that we would maybe want to pull apart and utilize certain pieces for our own, and then the customizable live, work, and play. Who do we contact to get these documents? You or somebody else?
No, you can just, the live, work, and play is right on our website, outdoor recreation.
But if we want to use something to customize it a little bit or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, there's a form right on the website. It says live, work, and play. If you want to customize it, click here and you fill the form out, and Cassie in our office will contact you. It's no problem. And then if you want specific information from this slide so you can put it into your own PowerPoint, we can send it to you as a PDF that you can, or as a PowerPoint so you can cut and paste with it.
Okay.
And so I can give you my card after this so you have
Great.
it.
We'll make a list.
Okay. No problem.
Just in about.
Oh, I just wanted to point out the guy that did that study for Canada is actually a Little Falls native, Scott Chapin. So,
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, and follow up with what?
Following up Dan's question, maybe from your days of truck, you might have a sense of specifically for bikers, what their spending would be, like tourists. You know, when a city is thinking about putting in a bike lane, there are marginal costs to that. When the county is thinking about widening this highway in order to create, or even to restripe it or to maintain it, there are some costs. So
Right.
it would sure be helpful among those who want to foster particularly bike tourism to have a little more fine-tuned numbers about the overnight spending of bike tourists. If the data doesn't exist, maybe don't they call themselves the regional something? No, I was thinking at the university, for Sherry. Is the Regional Development Institute still around that does studies?
The Survey Research Center?
That's it.
Yes, the Survey Research Center is
Maybe-
available and, yep.
Maybe we could steer them into fine tuning the numbers.
And Beth had referred me to an organization called University. And so it's UNIVERCITY. St. Croix County is currently, we found out last week, St. Croix County is currently doing something with child protection with them. It's University of Wisconsin, working with professors and students, and then working with the community. City of River Falls is doing the same thing. So that's, Beth had given me that information, and I followed it up. Bill has it, and Brett. So, one other question.
Can I just add?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Beth, I
Do
also
we only
wanted-
have another 7 minutes of your time? Quarter to?
Quarter two is our cutoff.
Just to answer your question, Buck, there is a study by UW-Madison on the economic impact of bicycling in the state, which it comes in at over $1 billion. And so we can send you that study, and from there it'd be great maybe to regionalize that study to talk about what's unique to your area. But I would also say that you know, the way to look at this is with the larger lens, because people are choosing where to live and where to work based on where they can play. So it used to be, before COVID, we would, you know, put those in silos. So this is, you know, we're gonna build this out so that someone can ride their bike to school. Well, now that full infrastructure of being known as an outdoor recreation destination is affecting people's decisions in a bigger way. So I think you can kind of add to what you're thinking here, because it has more impact than just the cost of that bike trail. It impacts the residents, it impacts the big businesses that are trying to attract workers. So it has a bigger effect, and then it has such a big contribution to people's mental, physical, and social well-being. I'm not exactly sure how you measure that. So there's a lot of elements to that, but there is a baseline from a UW Madison study for the state, and we can send that to you.
And there was also, 3 years ago, we had Mike Polina was going to talk to us from the city of Stillwater. And so you look at that time, since the Gateway, or excuse me, the Browns Creek connecting to the Gateway Trail had opened, 3 bicycle shops had opened in downtown Stillwater.
Yeah.
3 hotels had opened in downtown Stillwater. And that Mike was going to former city council member. And that's why the Bayport issue is very important also, because the benefits of the tourism that is coming there in their downtown. Also look at Maple Grove, Minnesota, Maple Grove, Plymouth, what's happening there specifically with the parks that they have put in for both year-round skiing, bicycling, canoeing, etc. is all there, and there's people coming from St. Cloud and the Twin Cities to Maple Grove, and there are folks in that demographics as far as the age are concerned, young families that are now established. So that material is available.
And I would add that safety is a really big factor. You know, just putting paint on the road isn't always the safest option. So, you know, grade separated, right.
Yep.
2 things, I guess, from your perspective, what are the top 3 things that we can do as a region, knowing our region as you do, to uplift us in this area? And then the second thing, it seems to me that Minnesota has it going on with multi-use trails. And I'm not quite sure of how that happens in Minnesota, but is there any effort in Wisconsin to look at that model and uplift Wisconsin on the multi-use trail perspective?
Your first question, I think the collaboration of all the different people in this room and thinking in terms of a region, not just a city or a county, but the region, and that connectivity will play into your continued success. And the fact you have all these people in the room, you know, under an umbrella of growth and collaboration is, you know, you're 10 steps ahead. So continuing that and thinking who else you can bring into the conversation, I think is where the uplift continues to come from. And then the actual infrastructure piece, our office doesn't do that. We don't do the infrastructure piece because that would be the DNR who works in state parks or Department of Transportation for bike lanes. And so I'm not really sure that they're looking at Minnesota as a model, but what I would suggest is that the DNR is about to embark on their SCORP planning, and that's their 5-year plan. And the projects that are in the plan are the projects that are eligible for funding. So I would definitely say to get involved and make sure the projects you want to see into the future are part of that SCORP planning process. Thank you.
Couple more questions, anybody? Mark again.
Yeah, I don't know who provided this piece on Wyoming, but maybe it came from your office, but it's
Right
very
here, Mark.
interesting here. This is talk, oh, did you? Yeah, well, there's this, in the outdoor rec world, there's 100 of us asking for money, the speaker said. We want more shooting ranges, we want better access for fishing, we want snowmobile rides. Whatever people want, it all costs money, and money has to come from somewhere, and that's a big challenge. Apparently they have problems in Wyoming that we don't have here. Interesting. But the idea of shooting ranges struck me because I'm a member of the Hudson Rod and Gun Club, and it's one of the few shooting ranges around. These days it's hard to have a shooting range because of liability questions, you know. And I wondered if the governor might be at all open to the idea that folks come in to target shooters. I used to do that when I was a boy, or a young Navy officer, not really a boy. And that's something to think about. Is a way that the state could be a little bit more helpful in the area of shooting ranges. We have folks, the sheriff's department here has to use the Hudson Gun Club for their facilities. The only range within 40 miles probably that's available to them in Wisconsin. Police departments come from Minnesota to use our range. More ranges would be a useful thing for tourism of the sort. Gun clubs, target clubs, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions?
I would make a quick comment, I think, on the Minnesota model. I don't know if it was maybe directed towards funding, but I think they have their heritage fund that's part of the lottery, so they have more money available, I think, to fund some of these trail options.
Yeah. Okay. Did I miss anyone?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right on time, so, break.
Good morning, I'm Brett Budrow, St. Croix County Community Development Department, planning administrator there. I've been working on bicycle and pedestrian plans and planning since about 2015, when we started the process of adopting our 2017 bicycle and pedestrian plan. I'm going to talk to you today about the plan itself, and then John Hilgers, our senior planner, is going to talk about some of our implementation projects. And I've got two different things going on here because I left my notes over here and I'm not showing that on the screen. So we'll see how this works. St. Croix County, fastest growing county in the state for the last several decades, or near the fastest. Percentage-wise, I always like to throw that in there. Dane County sometimes grows more than our entire population, but very fast percentage-wise. And by 2040, we're looking at having another 25,000 people here in St. Croix County to live, work, and play. And like we said, this is tourism, but these people are going to do tourism right here on some of these facilities that hopefully we create. The St. Croix River crossing, the bridge in Stillwater, really brought forward the need for a bicycle and pedestrian plan, or to update our bicycle and pedestrian plan. So I'm going to touch on the bicycle and pedestrian plan 2017. Is about a 2-year process. We really took into account a lot of public feedback. We had a survey from UW River Falls Survey Research Center, multiple open houses, worked with the St. Croix Bicycle and Pedestrian Coalition on that plan itself. I'll talk about the plan and a little bit of our implementation process. And there you can see we had the old Stillwater Bridge, and we got some new bridges, and we're going to really talk about cycling. There's our bridge coming up. Our loop trail, everybody knows about that. That's a 3D model of it. We're crossing into Stillwater on the old lift bridge, and we have the new iconic river crossing bridge. We've got some trailheads there. You can see the county built a really nice trailhead with facilities there. We've got an art bench going up and down the St. Croix River. There's all of these art benches that provide tourism for the whole St. Croix Valley. The loop trail itself, completed construction in 2019. We're looking at having several 100,000 visitors every year now to the area. It's part of the challenge is how do we get them from that loop trail to the rest of St. Croix County, New Richmond, Somerset, down to Hudson, throughout the rest of the county. How do we do that? We have interpretive panels on both sides of the St. Croix River that celebrate the natural and cultural diversity of the St. Croix River Valley. And again, we're connecting St. Croix County, the St. Croix Valley, to the Minnesota. How do we bring those potential visitors to the St. Croix Valley? So we'll talk about the planning process, the results of the plan, and then some of our implementation items. St. Croix County has had quite a bit of history in bicycling and pedestrian uses. We've had a bicycle and pedestrian plan for some 20 years that the St. Croix County Highway Department worked on. We developed paved shoulders and striping for different roads. We have got bike route signs throughout the county. The Highway Department and the County Parks Department put together a recreation, bicycle, and pedestrian plan trying to identify low traffic roads. Many of the routes that we use are on town roads because they have lower traffic and they provide a higher level of comfort. But then when we're on town roads versus county roads, the county doesn't have jurisdiction on those. So we need to have cooperation between 20-some different towns to actually get bike route signs on town roads to accomplish some of the things that we want to do. Examples there, we've got different bike route signs, we've got rural rustic roads. We also have our Woodville Trail, the Wildwood Trail going from Woodville down to Spring Valley that was mentioned earlier. River Falls is here, New Richmond is here, Hudson's here. All of those communities are working on bicycle facilities and pedestrian facilities as well. How do we connect those higher population centers to other destinations? Part of the planning process. One of the other items that we want to talk about is the diversity of users. We've got a wide diversity of people that we were trying to plan for in our planning process. Large proportion of our population that wants to bike and walk more, but they need higher level of safety. That was brought up earlier. We do see a large number of cyclists using our town roads. In the county government center in Hudson, I believe once a week, at least last year, I haven't seen them yet this year, but there's 3 or 4 cars that drop off bicycles, and there's a whole pack of riders that are riding the town roads in St. Croix County every week. And by the time I drive home, I see them going past my house about 14 or 15 miles away. Again, that they are able to ride on the town roads or the county roads without that off-road trail that's so important for so many other people. So we have a diversity of communities in St. Croix County that also have bicycle and pedestrian plans. The city of Richmond, city of River Falls, city of Hudson, as you can see, from 2016 to the draft River Falls plan of March 2023. I'm not sure if it's been adopted. So all of those communities have bicycle and pedestrian plans too, and our St. Croix County one is kind of a regional plan for them. One item about the importance of these plans is you need to have that facility recognized in your plan to really be able to apply for and obtain some of the funding sources, the TAP grants, Transportation Alternative Program grants, that so many of us rely on to get these projects done. As you can see, there was a strong desire in the St. Croix County plan amongst the various stakeholders to coordinate our plans and projects, and this meeting was one of the things recognized in the plan to try to bring folks together to do some of this coordination. So the results of the St. Croix County plan, a guide for the further development of bicycle and pedestrian facilities in St. Croix County. We identified a primary network for bike and pedestrian facilities to safely, efficiently serve cyclists and pedestrians. And we made a variety of recommendations for bike and trail facilities to provide that higher level of comfort. So this is our map. I'm not sure, it's going to be a little bit difficult to really decipher here today, but you can see by our graph, we had 328 miles of minor enhancements. Those are our on-road cycling routes where we had additional paint or signage. We ended up with about 48 miles of off-road path that we thought would be important through the whole planning cycle, 20-year plan. We also talked about bike lanes, separated bike lanes, advisory bike lanes, a variety of different recommendations. And these were in the more rural areas of the county and within villages and cities. We also identified priority projects within St. Croix County that the county and the local municipalities should try to work on early on in the process. Implementation, we have signed on-road bike routes and we have TAP grants, Highway 35 off-road corridor, which John is going to highlight when he gets up here. He's been working on that, obtaining grants and working through the construction and implementation phases of that. Again, the St. Croix crossing afforded a major opportunity for St. Croix County. And how do we get people from that loop trail to the rest of St. Croix County? And this is how we're doing it. One of the aspects I want to talk about is the funding strategy. The plan itself recognized that, quote, the infrastructure recommendations in the plan cannot be implemented in a timely manner solely through grant funding. So even with the grant funding, the TAP grants, there's a 20% match to get from Hudson to the loop trail. We're looking at about $600,000 to $700,000 of just county money. And that's if we got a TAP grant every cycle. And, you know, we're looking at 10 years to get there. If we did it without TAP grant funding or grants, then you can increase the amount of money that the county or the local governments would have to have. This is another map showing our signed on-road bike routes. We have signed an on-road route from the Loop Trail up to Somerset, and then that extends over to Richmond. We have a signed on-road bike route from the outskirts of Hudson that goes straight across the county over to Glen Hills County Park. We have a recently signed route from Richmond on town roads where we need to work with the local townships to get permission to sign their town roads down to Woodville, which connects up to the Wildwood Trail, which would take us down to the outskirts of Spring Valley. The Wildwood Trail is that 7-mile old railroad grade. And then we also have a on-road signed route in the town of Troy that takes us from Hudson to River Falls. On any of these signed routes, the difficulty is from that township level road, that town road, how does it get into a route or trail in the city or village that it's connecting to? Because many times the traffic is more intense in those areas, you might want an off-road facility. So that's what we've implemented so far, and here's John going to talk about our trail corridor on Highway 35.
Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm John Hilgers. I'm a planner with St. Croix County. I've been with St. Croix County since 2018. I just have 3 slides to share with you today relating to a project that was identified in the long-range county bike plan. And specifically, this project is called the Highway 35 Off-Road Corridor. And I wish I could have put a bigger map together, but we're zeroing in on the Hudson to Stillwater area, but the impacts of this project goes well beyond that. So just to highlight quickly, we have I-94 at the bottom, downtown Hudson to the village of North Hudson. We go up 35, then we have the beautiful Willow River State Park. We have the recently purchased 170-acre Eckert Bluffland Park property that was purchased over the last few years. We go up Highway 35, we have the loop trail facilities that are in place that Brett talked about. We have the connection to downtown Stillwater, and then we have the westward connection via the Browns Creek State Trail that takes you into the Twin Cities. And then if you go even further south, we have the 94 trail crossing along I-94 that then goes south to downtown Afton. I'm not sure if it goes further south than that right now. But you can see the number of miles that are involved in this project. And so really the vision of the Highway 35 off-road trail corridor, The vision of this project was to link some of these key components. For example, downtown Hudson, you have sidewalks, some bike lane facilities, but then as you get to about North Hudson, sorry about that. I like maps. I'm trying to use my arrow here. Phase 1 is part of the vision for connecting this project would go from the village of North Hudson, Summer Street, about where the new Quick Trip is, out to the Eckert Bluffland Park facility. I'm just going to not use the arrow. Phase 2 would be another 1-mile section of trail to County V in the town of St. Joseph. Phase 2 would also include a bike lane along River Road to Willow River State Park, where they are actually doing some improvements within the park itself as far as bike facilities. And then phase 3 would extend up to the main trailhead that you see on the map, the Blue Star Trailhead. And so as Brett mentioned, we did secure funding for phase 1, the 1.1 mile section to Eckert Blufflands Park. That was through a TAP grant program. As many of you know, the TAP grant program is the acronym for Transportation Alternatives Program, promoting off-road facilities such as trails for pedestrians and bicyclists. As Brett mentioned, that was an 80-20 match. The county had to come up with a 20% match. We did so. We are in the process of bidding that first phase out sometime late this summer or this fall. The phase 2 application would be submitted in 2024, phase 3 in 2026. And as Brett mentioned, the one component is that the TAP grant application is available only every other year. So we are going to talk about some other funding mechanisms that we are going to be pursuing to expedite this process. Second slide talks about some of the project challenges. So when we obtained the grant from the federal government through WISDOT, the 80% federal portion was capped. So we received about a $400,000 grant. The county had to come up with the additional $100,000 to do that first phase. Since then, with inflation and material costs, that project has increased about $150,000. And so the federal portion of that grant is frozen. It's going to be up to the county to try and find funds to bridge that gap. So even though we're going to be bidding the project out this fall, that does need to go back to our committee and county board to get that approval. Some other challenges: TAP grants are competitive across the state. We're competing with other entities, local jurisdictions for those dollars. And also talking with DOT staff, you know, you talk about a project sweet spot or how much of a grant you should be applying for. And so in talking with DOT, they like to disperse funds throughout the various regions of the state. And basically, they kind of frowned upon any applications exceeding $1 million. And so because this project is about a $5 million estimate between the three phases, we really had to start breaking that down. So the three-phase cost estimate was approximately $3 million. I'm sorry, I think I said $5 million. It's $3 million for the 5+ miles of off-road trail, which is why we're doing the phased approach. Now, an alternate of the TAP grants, we are pursuing other grant opportunities. We are also trying to work with administration and finance and the county board about putting placeholders for additional financing in the capital improvement plan for the county. This is a long-term funding plan that looks at major expenditures. And as of right now, we do have some extra dollars currently in the 2025 budget cycle. But as most of you know, budgets are very challenging for cities and counties and towns. And so these budgets are always subject to review and future discussion. The other thing I do want to mention is that on the other side of the river in Washington County, if you look at Highway 95, that parallels the St. Croix. On the west side of the river, Washington County is currently in the process of working on a master plan that would run an off-road trail from Stillwater down to I-94. And again, that would be on the west side of the river. So you can see the potential here and the vision of our plan to connect these different facilities. You know, Hudson, downtown Hudson, we go over to Willow River State Park, Eckert Bluffland Park, the Trailhead Stillwater, the Twin Cities area via bike trail. And then my last slide real quickly, actually I'm zeroing in on the Eckert Bluffland Park, which is kind of along the St. Croix River you see on the map. We went through a master planning process back in 2021 and 2022, and we identified a number of uses for that property. It's a 170-acre park. I do have larger maps outside if you want to take one of the master plan. But you see Highway 35 on the very right side of the map. The Eckert Bluffland Park, the 170 acres. We have 2,800 feet of shoreline on the scenic St. Croix. Within the park itself, we have an additional 5 miles of trail, 1.5 miles of paved trail, 3.5 miles of gravel trail. We have 13 hike-in sites on the north side of the park right here. And then we have 24 camper cabins proposed and yurts on the south side of the park. The middle side of the middle portion of the park that you see here is the more active area. We have playground facilities. We have a rope climbing course that we're proposing. If you look at some of the pictures in the middle, if you keep going down, we have a mountain bike training course that will be part of the master plan. Picnic facilities, stargazing mounds, future sledding opportunities. Don't let the busy map fool you. We just use that for descriptive purposes to show the different activities on that map. But in the end, the vision for the off-road trail for Highway 35 was really to begin connecting these major facilities, these beautiful destinations, the downtowns of Hudson and Stillwater, getting through the village of North Hudson. And so this is one of the reasons why this trail segment was picked to kind of execute the beginning of the county master plan. So I'll stop there. I think we're running out of time. Thank you.
You're doing fine. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Thank you, Brett. Okay.
Oh my God.
So now we have the folks from WIKI. So the Willow River Kitty Connect Bike Club and Frank, and introduce your friend.
Yeah, so I'm Frank/Andrew, and here with me is Julie.
Excuse me, Julie, I need to do one more thing. Got interrupted by Buck there for a minute, so I had to.
Julie's husband, Tom Goyer, was actually the recipient of the 2022 DNR Volunteer of the Year. So frankly, I think Julie should have gotten an award for being the most patient wife of the year for the amount of hours that Tom has put in. Tom helped at Whitetail Ridge right over there, and this, these trails were really his dream from 10, 12 years ago. So,
Which is why I'm here. He's on trail. He's sitting on a mini X right
Yeah.
now down at Kinney. And if it's not raining, we want to keep our volunteers busy. So I said, okay, I'll come and we'll chat. So I'm here with Frank.
yeah, Tom doesn't take much time off. So.
No, that's true. Yep. And like I said, you guys, I am Tom's wife, and I'm a WIKI member and a volunteer. I do head up a women's group, getting out there working on trails. We can get dirty as well. I am the director of Glitter and Fun for the Minnesota Cycling, the High School Association, to get more just kids on bikes, middle school and high school riders, more girls on bikes. And we wear a lot of glitter, and not just girls, boys like the glitter as well. So anything we can do to get people riding bikes.
Yeah, I think my main role at WIKI is just connecting the community with the trails however we can. Like if I see somebody with a bike on the back of their car at a gas station, I go talk to them and recruit them as a volunteer. So.
Right. And I could just talk quickly about who WIKI is. So WIKI was formed in 2020 by a group of people. My husband, a guy named Chad, who started, him and his wife started the St. Croix Composite and Hudson Bike Team. And Frank and a number of other mountain bike enthusiasts, and they saw an opportunity in their purpose to develop and construct and maintain natural surface mountain bike and fat bike trails in summer and winter at the state parks. I used to be on the Friends Group, and so we actually work with the Friends Group. We're part of the Friends Group, which is a nonprofit, and together we help the DNR to organize and fund and supplement like projects. And just to let you guys know, mountain biking is one of the fastest growing sports for youth and for families to get outside.
That's Tom over on the left there. We've currently got, I think, actually 12 miles at Kinney. The first 3 miles there is the red loop or puffball. Tom actually built that by hand on his hands and knees with a folding saw. So, yeah, that's how it started. But at this point, within 2 years of building, we now have roughly 24, 25 miles at each park or between the parks. So we've accomplished an insane amount in 2 build seasons.
And just to give you guys a feel of what it's like there, trails are flowy. They're single track trails. They are on dirt. They have swoopy turns. Some may have roots, rocks, bumps, drops, but this isn't just for adrenaline junkies. We have trails for all sorts of athletes, moms and newbies who just want to try out mountain biking for green trails. Little kids on striders can take like a little loop. And it's really fun because beginners to experts can actually go out and experience what it's like to ride the trails at the 2 different parks. There is green, blue, black style trails that are super easy to navigate at both of the parks. And they actually are a destination spot. Mountain biking is a destination sport where people come from Minnesota, people come from all over Wisconsin now, Prescott, they might start here. Like Mary said, it may be a whole day thing. Maybe they're over here, then they're at a restaurant, then they're at the bike shop. They're really supporting the communities. They're in Stillwater, they're doing the loop trail, they're doing the off-road. And so it's a destination type sport, and they're coming because we're right on the border here of the coast of Wisconsin. They're coming from everywhere to come to this side.
Yeah, having biked pretty much every trail within like a 6-hour drive of here, I'm not a big downhill jump guy because I get injured way too often. Totally didn't break my heels our first year of trail building. But those downhill jump lines we have at Willow are, they're bigger than anything else in the Midwest, really. So people come just for that. We have people making YouTube videos of those jump lines. But for me, it's, flowy, easy trails, taking kids out. things like that. As soon as my heels were healed, all my puns are unintentional, I promise. We set about building boardwalks on our green trail because not only are we trying to make something fun and accessible, but we're also trying to respect the environment as much as possible. So with the amount of time I spent on the boardwalks, I now have a large appreciation for swamp cabbage. It's very safe.
It is. So just to let you know, though, the trails that they build are sustainable trails. They're different. When my husband first built the first trail at Kinney, he was working with the state park. Our goal is like the big fat Greek wedding. We make them look good and we make it believe like it's their own idea, right? They at the state parks used to come in and they would just build trails, not thinking about water runoff or sustainability at all. And so he built the Puffball Trail, the first trail. People started coming. The parks were like, oh my gosh, people like this kind of trail. Like even hikers, like they want to feel that. They want to see cool stuff that's out there and not just bulldozing this way and that way, but kind of navigating through around trees and rocks. So they build them with environmental, which they take into consideration the landscape and what can be sustained. The social part, which is the intended use, and the economic part, which is the maintenance and the upkeep of the trails. That is actually a huge thing, just to build the trails, but then to go back. I mean, after we got this big snow not too long ago, we just finally got trees chainsawed out. And these are all volunteers that are out there chainsawing. They have to be certified. Not anybody can just go in and start using the chainsaw and cutting out and doing that kind of thing. So they adhere to these principles and strategies, and the club has succeeded by seriously building some of the best trails, like he said, around. And so WIKI was awarded, though, one of the FTP trail, it's the Federal Recreational Trail Program grants, and that's what they're working on right now, is 10 miles of new trails at Willow River. It's starting on Monday.
Yeah, and as part of that, we also had to take on a lot of responsibilities with the land itself. We had an archaeological dig go through and make sure we weren't disturbing any Native American remains, things like that. There's actually a huge amount of them in our area because any river, what would it be, river delta is where there'd be open water year-round, so that's where all these Native American settlements would be. And luckily they didn't find anything, and we're also not able to cut any trees wider than 15 inches because of bats. So there's every bit of the way, you know, and that cost what, like $13,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it than just going out there and building trails. So this is just a quick little map. It's kind of small, and you guys can find these on our website, but this is Willow River. And there is going to be an additional 15 miles there that's coming along with the enhancements.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah, our trailhead started here, and this is where we have the green trails with boardwalk. And then, as part of the St. Croix County Bike Coalition plan, this traverse that starts in the upper corner goes all the way down here and will eventually give you access right into the park through this bridge. The DNR is going to build a bridge for us somewhere here across the ravine for it. It'll make us a nexus for all of that, and then the new trails will go to the north side here. We have a map for those as well. And also Howling Coyote, we're gonna connect back down as well.
this is a quick map of Kinney. And so at Kinney, all the trail names are named after mushrooms. Right now, there's like Puffball and Lost Morel and all sorts of fun names like that. And there actually is pretty good fungi there if you guys are interested in scoping that out. I'm not going to tell you the secret spots though, but they're there. And then at Willow, right now, all the trails are named after fish. And then the new trail, all the names are going to be named after
Birds.
birds.
So, yeah, as part of our, community outreach, I thought it would be a good idea to get the names together for all the bird trails. And what we're actually going to do is have all the elementary school kids vote on bird names for the trails. So that gets them involved and out using the trails. And I didn't even know this, but we have local mountain bike teams. Before I got involved in WIKI, And Julie and Tom, Chad and Kathy McDonald are all coaches for those teams. So now, instead of clogging 5 miles at Whitetail Ridge there for 3 different teams, each team now has their own home base of trails, which is fantastic for them.
Over 500 student athletes and families are actually now going to these areas. They're going to Kinney, they're going to Willow, they're going over here, they're going into Prescott. I mean, they're looking for areas that they can call home. And then now they're coming and they're saying, we want our teams to help build trails. And then when they come and ride, they're like, I built that. Even though you know how much they probably did, maybe only a little bit, they have this ownership. And then it's all teaching them giving back and being good stewards. And so, people now that come to Willow and go camping, they have another thing they can do at Willow River, making it an outdoor activity kind of destination spot.
Yeah, one of the mountain bike team kids actually holds the KOM, or King of the Mountain, for Howling Coyote. It's like 4 minutes faster than my fastest time. So, yeah.
I don't even try to keep up with those kids anymore.
Yeah.
But then locals, like you were saying, people are actually moving to areas where they have more things, work, outdoor activities. They want to live by what they have to offer themselves. We have some real stories from real people. There's this guy, Walt. He lives over by Willow River. And he, once the trails got built, said, hey, I'm going to dust off my old bike and go out there and give it a go. And he lost a bunch of weight. He's been going to Art Doyle's and supporting them. He lives a healthier lifestyle. There's a Josie, and she just recently had heart surgery. Decided to get out, just do it at her own pace. And there's just a number of different people. The stories could go on and on about what it's doing to people's lives, getting outside and mountain biking. This is where you get to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. So the amount of volunteer hours, I mean, really, when we started, there was no funding other than some Knowles Nelson grants, which were $40,000. Half needed to be matched with donations, as well as volunteer hours. I think we get $7 an hour reimbursed from the DNR. So we need to talk with them about minimum wage. But really, it's our WIKI volunteers that have made this happen. The amount of people that we've had come out. At Kinney, it started with basically me and Tom there. And he kept having to tell me to back up away from the excavator because I'm just right behind him. And now when I go ride Kinney, something that took a week or 2 weeks is 5 seconds of riding. Like Matake Mayhem is a big, a steep downhill coming off the puffball loop. And all of that was built by hand on a grade like this. Tom somehow got the excavator through there without falling down the canyon. And I was dodging rocks and throwing trees down the hill and then building with all those rocks, basically a retaining wall to keep the trail in place. And it hasn't fallen away yet, so we did okay there. But really, it's extremely expensive to build mountain bike trails. We had professionals build, or at least pre-work our big downhills there. And that was an insane amount of money, and it wasn't even complete. We had our teams go through and compact everything after them and finish it, but really that's the only way these trails exist is because our volunteers are doing it by hand. If we had more funding, we could build a lot more trail and make it look a little bit nicer and do it faster, but what we've accomplished already is just, astounding. We've had people come and donate money just because they've been involved in other groups that weren't getting things done, and they looked at what we did and said, wow, here's some money, keep going. So that's our goal.
Yep, 3,000 hours just last year in volunteer time. But it is true, but it's not for what they have developed with the amount of volunteers putting in their time and getting funding, it wouldn't be what it is today. So.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, part of one of the hats I wear at WIKI is fundraising, reaching out to the community, getting people to donate, doing raffles. We hosted an event when we opened the trails at Willow. That was months of work, but it got us an article in the Star Tribune and got people out riding the trails. People came and said, wow, how do we donate? That's the best thing I could ever hear. So we have QR codes now that we're coming out with, so people can just hit the QR code on their phone and donate directly on our website.
Right, so, and WIKI's received just last year 2 Wisconsin DNR grants to help build these mountain bike trails. But any donations that are received are going to go to the new 10 miles that is currently being worked on at Willow. And this is it. This is the new RTP Trails area that they are starting, like I said, on Monday. They already spent a ton of time flagging and going through and doing that, doing all the testing. And, uh-oh, did we get that?
You're doing fine.
Okay, we're to cruise along here.
Yeah, the RTP trails, I mean, frankly, again, another unintentional pun, I apologize. We were almost out of funding at Willow until we got these trails. So that gives us basically 2 build years for a total of 15 miles that we're going to put in up there. And again, all flowy, beginner, accessible trails. 1 black trail only. The idea being that we just want more miles of easy trail for the community to ride.
If anybody can spot the typo, you can get a free hat.
Heroes.
Thank you. You know what? It's so funny. I didn't even notice it till last night. I was like, wait a minute. There's supposed to be an E in that. These are our dirt heroes, we call them. Dirt heroes are people who are like you guys, donors, volunteers. And so, like he mentioned, Tom received that award last year, which is pretty neat. And our communities, you guys are heroes as well. You know, Hudson, River Falls, Stillwater, surrounding communities. And it's just people helping people. You know, that's what we're all here for. We're all looking for the same thing. We're all here to hopefully make biking be the best it can be for everybody out there, for something healthy to do outside. And so, like these relationships that we've made with you guys and meeting new people and bringing people to different businesses is literally what it's all about. And so we want to thank you guys for allowing us to be here. Oh yeah, by the way, you can get your name on this Dirt Heroes thing here. If you don't see your name up there right now, come and just scan that code right there and do that. Hey, we forgot flyers. I want everybody to take your phone out. Just scan that QR code really quick. It takes you to our donation page, but it also takes you to our page. And we can, just at the end, let Frank know or me that you guys want some more information. And seriously, I could probably figure out, I know there's people who want one of these awesome Dirt Boss hats.
I think we agreed it was a barter.
Well, or a good donation, we'll see. So thank you so much. Developing these trails does take a significant amount of time and money, and just consider being a dirt hero. That's all we really ask. Or come out and ride your bike at the parks. If anybody wants to get a girls group together, come see Frank. He'll wear a skirt. Put on some glitter.
Thank you. And as they're heading back, when this was proposed, as somebody who has skied at Willow River State Park since it was founded or walked out there, back when Fred Kramer and Dick Mueller and there was another gentleman that found out that NSP was going to be getting rid of that property or it was going up for sale. And it was 3 gentlemen who stepped forward and said, this has got to be a park. We have to preserve this. They were trout fishermen. And that's how it came about. So when you're at the park, you're standing at the boat launch, you see a house looking right out over the lake. That was one of the first homes that was sold of the property, and then it came in and they set up the park. And so when this was proposed, it was, as skiers, it was like those fat tires are going to be all over the ski trails. It didn't happen. These are the most respectful folks I have ever dealt with, being the Berkey Trail or wherever, that it's just has worked so well. And this year when we had the big snow in December, the synergy that worked between the skiers, the snowshoers, and the bikers, that they asked to have the snowshoers come out and packed the trails down for the bikers. And they had all kinds of folks that showed up to do it. So this is an example of their folks not only raising funds, but from the goodness of the community and to make it a better place, and that's what it's all about. So, one quick one.
So Casey Johnson again with Prescott Chamber. The McGee Park, and we just had a bunch of volunteers for the Cooley River Trail that were out there to build the mountain bike terrain skills park. So maybe there's a WIKI or something eventually, partnership here for the McGee Park. But I think just to show, and the city very much is 100% behind the Cooley River Trail there, and then getting the McGee Park, up and running and established and all that. So it is a lot easier when you can work with your local government and all that. But I think it's just, even in small little Prescott, we're hopping on this because we see that need, and the snowshoeing over the winter they did, and then, like I said, just last weekend, all the volunteers that came out to do the mountain bike terrain skills park there. So
great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Actually, one of Tom's dreams is on that 770th on the south side of Kinney. There's that big prairie as you go into the trails. And once we have funding available, the plan is to have a skills park for kids there.
Yeah.
So moms can just come and let their kids, strike a bike.
I'm gonna be the railroad conductor here. This train's gotta keep moving.
Yep.
So we're gonna have questions after Rosemary, and Evie is gonna give us a few minutes also. So Rosemary Mansfield from the Scaverta Group.
Thank you, Mark.
We didn't clap.
That was not for me, that was for WIKI. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I represent the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance, and we publish this visitor guide for the St. Croix Valley. I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with the St. Croix Regional Tourism Alliance, so let me start by giving you just a little bit of history. 29 years ago, the chambers in both Minnesota and Wisconsin invited Governor Arne Carlson from Minnesota and Tommy Thompson from Wisconsin to meet in the middle of the St. Croix River to sign the bylaws for this organization. And thus, the St. Croix River Valley Tourism Alliance was formed. The chambers and the governors believed there was something very special about the St. Croix River Valley. They had a vision for how tourism promotion could make a positive impact in our communities and their economic growth. Today, the Tourism Alliance continues work with 20 communities, and if you all have a copy of the guide in your folder. So we work with all of these communities up and down the St. Croix River to further that goal. The mission of the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance is to serve as an educational resource for the history, culture, and natural resources of the Lower St. Croix National Scenic Riverway, and to increase the economic impact of tourism in its member communities and businesses through the promotion of the St. Croix River Valley. The Alliance publishes 25,000 of these visitor guides every year. And they're distributed through the major travel information centers in a 7-state area. The high tourism locations are the reason that 75% of these guides go outside of this river valley, and that is really good news because that draws people from all over the upper Midwest and beyond into the St. Croix River Valley communities. Copies of the visitor guide are also available in all St. Croix Valley chambers, local businesses, state, county, and regional parks, and the guide is posted electronically on a variety of websites, and we're very active on social media. Now that I've given you a little bit of history about, as it's called, Scaverta, which I always think sounds like we need an injection for something with that acronym, but let me shift and talk a little bit about the economic impact of tourism in 3 of the counties of this area. St. Croix County, Mary already talked about. In 2021, St. Croix County, I'm just going to recap this, had tourism business sales of $188 million and direct visitor spending of $113.3 million. Polk County in 2021 had tourism business sales of $140 million with direct visitor spending of $96.3 million. And Pierce County in 2021 had tourism business sales of $55 million with direct visitor spending of $31.4 million. That's a lot of money. That's a total of $383 million in tourism business sales and $241 million in direct visitor spending in just 3 counties. The Alliance believes that we help contribute to these numbers. And the number one thing that pops out with regard to that belief is the strength of the partnerships that the Alliance has built, not only across state lines, Minnesota and Wisconsin, but between the communities of the St. Croix Valley. An example of the partnerships include we co-host with Polk County on an annual basis a tourism conference, much like this one today, to talk about how to more effectively market the unique tourism features of Polk County. And William, I think, is William still here? William can talk about it. Because William is always there and he's a great supporter of the conference, so thank you, William. We focus on the importance of getting outside of our own communities and outside of the silos that we all get into because we're so busy. And we really encourage all of the communities in Polk County to come together and share their stories with one another about what has worked for them, what their challenges are, how they can work better together to market the attractions that are in that area. It's a really challenging area to market because it's in the northern part of the valley. So we want to get people to collectively talk about how we can more effectively drive tourism dollars into Polk County. And it's worked. And another example of partnerships is Mark asking me to come here today and talk to all of you. The other key ingredient to the success of the Alliance has been its marketing strategy. Each year as we develop the guide, the website, and our social media strategy, we work with all of the communities in the guide to put together a marketing plan or a focus for that community in the guide. Because each community we work with is unique, and we need to understand things in those communities like, help us understand the customer journey. When a customer comes into your community, what is it going to be like for them? What is each community selling? You're selling an experience for the traveler. So what is it? Is it biking? Is it just shopping? Is it dining? What is that experience that you want us to talk about in this guide? We also talk about and want to learn more about how is your community different? What is unique with regard to your community and the other communities in the valley? What makes you special? Why should visitors come here? And why should they love your community and why should they stay in your community? Or what about your community will bring travelers back? Or how will they think about your community and then talk to their friends and recommend that their friends come and visit your community? We also recognize that times have never been better for adding tourism into a community's economic mix. We have found small to mid-sized communities, and those are the communities that we mostly work with on the guide, can be successful for being exactly who they are. In the past several years, working with this guide, we've seen shifts in what travelers want. Travelers have lost interest in cookie-cutter restaurants, lodging, and attractions. Instead, they want local food, they want local attractions, they want connections to the lifestyles of the local people. As we all know, some of the trends that have developed are things like the slow food movement. What does that mean? That means it's all about getting off of the interstate and into small town restaurants where locals eat, or authentic tourism, where this attracts visitors to come into communities and see the community just as it is. Or geotourism, that's all about preserving the local culture. Agritourism, tourism that provides tours of local farms and learning more about sustainability. Or heritage tourism, people want to know more about the history of communities, and they want to see historic churches and museums. They want to know more about tourism that protects our future, eco-green tourism, stewardship and the protection of our natural places that support the economy of our communities, which benefit from the millions of riverway visitors in the St. Croix Valley every year. That's why we've formed partnerships with organizations like Leave No Trace or the Wild Rivers Conservancy up in Osceola. We all understand why local tourism is important. It draws visitors from outside of our area, and it has substantial benefits. When tourists travel to communities, they bring opportunities. They bring opportunities for services. An increase in tourism creates the demand for businesses to grow their service offerings. Existing businesses improve their services and discover new offerings for out-of-town guests. New businesses emerge as well as entrepreneurial efforts. Job opportunities. As new services and businesses emerge, so do employment opportunities. Existing businesses find ways to expand and new businesses open. Infrastructure. Increased tourism can motivate local businesses to improve local infrastructure. Revenue. Visitors spend money with the community's businesses. They go to restaurants, they shop the retail stores and boutiques. Businesses of all kinds have the potential to earn more when their communities attract visitors. The increase in sales tax revenue will fund important infrastructure and environmental projects in communities also. And culture. Tourism helps preserve and evolve a community's culture. Visitors eagerly engage in the history and traditions that make a town unique. And lastly, events. One of the most important economic drivers of tourism for communities is the events they hold. And I am very fortunate to have today Evie Nurbin. Evie is kind of the expert on events in the St. Croix Valley, and also an expert on tourism in the St. Croix Valley. So Evie is going to take a few minutes and talk with you about the events that we offer in the St. Croix Valley and the economic impact those have. So please welcome Evie. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary, and thank you, Mary, for being here today. Thank you to all of you for attending the conference and the discussion today. Because I've been involved in several events for more than 3 decades, I've been asked to share a couple of examples of how tourism and economic development and economic benefits are joined together. The Wisconsin Department of Tourism makes strategic decisions with data provided by numerous sources, one of which is Longwoods International. And they say that attending an event is the 4th highest ranking reason for people to take a trip. And we hope it's a multiple day trip. An average spend per person for a day trip is $74. If we can get that visitor to stay overnight, that economic impact number jumps to $168 per day. Some big numbers for multi-day events, and you've heard these already this morning. The Tour of America and Dairyland bicycle race equal 2.4 million in economic impact, and the Birkebeiner in Hayward area, 4 million in economic impact. Bringing it closer to home, the Borealis Fat Tire World Championship race this past January saw 350 bikes, plus bike riders, plus family and friends who came to Richmond. I saw a report that listed visitors from 16 states and 2 countries. Just ask 45th Parallel Distillery, New Richmond Golf Course, and hotels what that did for their January bank deposits. The revamped and sold out Bluegrass Bourbon and Brews event that just happened in River Falls, April 21st through 23rd, is another positive impact story in a quieter time of year. About 10 hospitality businesses hosted official events with music and tastings, plus other River Falls businesses tied in with special offerings for visitors throughout the entire weekend. Swingbridge Brewery had a release party for a new themed beer that they created. Juniors offered a bacon, bloodies, and brunch special on Sunday, starts up Friday, continues through Sunday, and Tattersall had additional bourbon tastings. An anecdotal memory from a past Bacon Bash Intercept survey I helped do in River Falls quite a few years ago. A couple from Toma was attending a UW River Falls alumni event on the Friday of Bacon Bash, but stayed an extra day because of the Bacon Bash events on Saturday. Another night in a River Falls hotel, ka-ching. And the event about which I am most familiar, the Hudson Hot Air Fair. 2024 will be the 35th annual winter event, bringing 30-plus hot air balloons and thousands of visitors to Hudson the first full weekend in February. Economic impact is one of the reasons the event has always existed in February. It's the worst revenue month of the entire year for many businesses. 28 days in February, the reason you couldn't survive for more than 28. An influx of visitors coming to town, plus a homecoming weekend for locals, starts a traditionally bad money month with an influx of revenue that helps carry over the businesses with their cash flow until March. Longwood says 89% of overnight travelers to Wisconsin are repeat visitors. Giving them something new and unique in addition to the expected makes Hot Air Fair an annual destination on many calendars. Here's a stat that's hard to beat. There's a group calling themselves the Women from Milwaukee who have been attending the Hot Air Fair for more than 30 years. The trip to Hudson every February has become multi-generational. And as an aside, that's what's happened with our committee also. After 35 years, our moms have died. Our children's children are now stuffing envelopes. This trip to Hudson for them has morphed from being strictly spectators to being prize winners in the Friday night Torchlight Parade, their event sponsors, and their helpers at the annual Smushboarding event. Total up the spend for lodging, food, beverages, gasoline, and the annual shopping sprees by up to 15 women for 30 years, an incredible economic driver for Hot Air Fair and the Hudson businesses. Back to Longwoods. The biggest reason for incoming Wisconsin travel is visiting friends and relatives, but that number is boosted by tying the visit to a special event. I talk to guests at Hot Air Fair every year who tell me they grew up seeing the balloons every February, and they're back home visiting family for the weekend and giving their children a similar memory. Congratulations to the chambers and the organizations who have figured this out and work so hard every year to make our area an events destination to help boost our local economy. And thank you for all of you coming today. Thank you to Mark for leading this conference, and we appreciate your interest. And what are we going to do now?
Thank you, Evie. Thank you, Rosemary. And so that's why we're here. So the questions, again, keep it on time because someone has to head back towards Madison. So looking at it, now's the time for questions, comments, and to answer the question, where do we go from here? Susan, yes.
For those of us in the room that don't know how to get connected to you and get your help with marketing and tourism, can you show us a contact? I don't know who you, but.
Thank you. I am the contact and I have plenty of cards with me, so I would love to chat with any of you that might be interested. I am beginning to work on a 2024 visitor guide right now, and we have some exciting things that we're looking at to do with that guide and to expand the guide a little bit. So if you're interested in getting into the guide, if you want to be part, we have a great section in the guide on the outdoors. We always focus a lot of space in the guide on the great outdoors. We have bike trails featured in here up in Scandia. I'd love to get more bike trails in the guide. So I'm here. Thank you, Susan. I have plenty of questions. I'd love to chat with you.
Other questions? Jill?
A quick question about collaboration. Is it possible to share those that are in the room with everybody? So we'll have that contact list?
I believe we'll find that out. Susan, did you hear the question? It's, can we share the contact list of the people that are here for the conference?
Sure, and I actually think it's Mary Claire that has the list because she was doing registration. But a number of people didn't register who are here today. And if you didn't leave Mary Claire or me your email, do that before you leave.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mary Claire, is that?
Good question.
Yes.
Other comments or questions?
I've got an observation. So many times people look at the pristine St. Croix River, a protected river, and say that thing is a barrier. And for those that live here and appreciate it, it's a bond. Why do I say that? The Twin City metro area, 15 counties, 2 of which are in the best side of the state. Pierce and St. Croix counties help comprise the 15 county Twin City metro area. But it is the elephant in the room, 3.75 million residents. We just need a few of them to, go east and come our way, and they will discover things like the Alliance and the good work that was done so many years ago, and the members that helped drive that, and parks and trails and so on. So that's a big takeaway. 3.75 million residents in 15 counties. We just need a few of them to head east.
I just took that paragraph out of my closing comments here. So, other comments or questions? No, that's a very important point. And that, it's the, take a tune out or phrase from Bob Dylan, knock, knock, knocking at the door. It was a different door, but that's, so it is so important that all of a sudden, they're coming this way. And part of this came up, and I will just say this, part of this came up last fall when there was the article in the St. Paul Pioneer Press, an old legacy newspaper, that the St. Paul Pioneer Press had the story about the number of new apartments that were being built, apartments, condos, and properties in Stillwater and Woodbury. And that you look along I-94 as you go in, we're turning into warehouse city as it's driving in. There's people that will work in those warehouses. So, and it's a situation, the great thing about St. Croix and Pierce County, and Evie can talk about this because of when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis and her good friend Carla Timmerman was still working at the Hudson House, is that people that were going to the Super Bowl were staying in Hudson because it was cheaper. So it's a situation that we have an opportunity here. And what are we going to do with it? And it's a dream of mine. It's been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. And we've heard about growing up in Hudson, oh, go to Stillwater, it's so much better. It's a wonderful place to visit, but this is a great place to live. And I'll put any restaurants in River Falls and Hudson up against anyone in Stillwater, with all due respect to Bayport. But it's a situation that we have it here.
Don't forget 45th parallel in Richmond Park.
Yeah, I like it there.
Yes, well, we have, and that's the other thing for tours here to come up with. We have wineries and distilleries. All of a sudden, we have a lot of distilleries, so, that are doing very well. Other questions or comments?
Are you taking names for a little committee to work on next year's conference and following up some of these questions that were asked about developing certain 3-county statistics, trying to fine tune them a little bit as to what part of it's to biking, tourists, involving the university's resources to do some surveys that maybe do tease out some of those countywide numbers into more specifics or something like that?
Answer, yes.
Okay,
And there's
so-
already, we've already talked about a postmortem.
Who's collecting the names?
We will deal with that through.
Volunteers?
At this point, we will get a hold of you specifically, Buck, because there's gonna be a postmortem. Susan will be, she's back there taking notes, but it's a situation also.
Is she? No, she's not.
Buck, I have worked with this woman. If I still had a law office, I would bring her in as a paralegal. That's how good she is.
Well,
So,
wait, the
Buck,
law-
yes, it's gonna happen. Other questions?
Whose hands are you collecting for this committee? You're not.
Mary,
I'll take a name if somebody wants to show.
Mary Claire, thank you.
Okay, Abby wants to be on the committee.
Other,
I do, of course. Mark does, of course.
so, Susan,
One of the things you can do, the Black and Ten Trails Coalition is interested in getting a regional group together to talk about cooperating and what would work and what wouldn't. You can go to our website at trails.org and you can send me a message. You can send me your contact information, your phone number and your email, and we will be, that was one of the questions I was gonna ask. Do we wanna do this again next year? And our organizing committee wants to do that, but we'll take your name and get you on the phone.
okay, other questions or comments? Yes.
So, we're all needing to think further in advance, just to let you guys know, we're all, how do we get people here, like you guys said? Theater Worth in Minneapolis is hosting, this got canceled because of the pandemic, but it's coming up in this next February. It's their World Cross Country Ski event.
It's the World Cup.
Yep, the World Cup ski event is going to be right over there, coming up in February. So I'm sure there's lots of ways that we can all, think about how do we want to get people over to this side in the winter. So I just was letting people know because.
And the last time it was in North America, it was in Thunder Bay. And from the standpoint of having the World Cup, Jessie Diggins from Afton, who was, her dad Clay was one of the founders of the Willow River Ski Club, and she was in the backpack. She mentions it in her book. And Jessie, if there's any way we could get her involved in this, she's being asked a lot of things. But it's a situation where the World Cup coming to the Twin Cities, it's the first time in the United States in like 35 years. So, and these are the World Championships. There's great skiers in the Birkebeiner, and they will be there next year, some of these World Cup people. And if you get a chance, it's the 50th running of the Birkie next year, and come up and see, the world comes to Hayward, is what it amounts to. So, other questions or comments? Okay.
I guess, WIKI, now that we're gonna have a lot more trails at Willow as of like October, I think would be done. We're looking to start hosting some sort of bike race there. So if that's something anybody would like to help with for planning events, certainly appreciate anyone's experience with that. I don't like racing my bicycles because I spend too much money on carbon frames and don't want to crash them, but lots of people do. So it'd be great to collaborate and have a community bike race.
That 30-year-old steel frame of mine works really good.
Steel?
mitigates vibration.
I don't care. It doesn't break. So,
Mark, I know you want to wrap up, but I
Yep.
want to just interject as we reach out to these big events. New Richmond has a world-class regional airport.
yes,
We can remind people you can fly in, there's good hospitality, lodging in the central part of the county, and it's a great place, it's a great way to get here.
so, other questions? Comments? Nope, gonna wrap it up. So, I have a list of things I have to say. I've thrown away most of my closing statements because we've covered them. So, first off, thank you all for attending and for your attentiveness and input. Also want to thank specifically those that worked very hard to make this happen, and that is Bill Rubin, Mary Claire Olson Potter, and Lauren Battis at the office, and she did a lot of clerical work for this. Director Mary Monroe Brown, Cassie Mordini also, her contact person with us from her department, and Brett and John, so Brett Budrow and John Hilgers. And Ryan from their office was very involved. Thank you. Rosemary Mansfield, Evie, thank you. Ben Heiser, thank you so much for all you've done, not only being with Susan in all the meetings, but also I'm sure you were involved in packing some of the flyers that are here. And especially, and I want to do a round of applause for Susan Heiser. So. This would not have happened without her. And also Sherry Marnell for hosting. It has been wonderful. It has been my sincere pleasure to be involved in this. It was the hope of many of us that this would be the start of a discussion. I use the example of a seed catalog, and I'm hoping that you take these materials, you look through those, and you start seeing where the seeds are, where we can plant them, and how they would work here. I also want to, we as individuals who live here and have the benefit of living here and the benefit of the Twin Cities to be able to take advantage of all the cultural things, et cetera, that go on, but also to have those folks at our doorstep. Not to get too wonky here, but there are times that things happen that I didn't plan it. I sat down last night and spent 45 minutes writing up a talk on how to finish this off. I got in the car this morning, and I've done the Birkebeiner several years, and a group of us have been together actually. There's 4 core people that have been together. We had 5 and 1 passed away for 42 years. And I haven't skied the Birkie 42 years, but I've paid fees to the Birkie for 42 years. But it's, and every year I do a playlist, and now they're becoming old-fashioned by handing someone a CD. But what's this for? I don't have a CD player in my car. But they still get their play, and it's always tries to be tied into the race, something inspirational about finish that race and do it. This morning as I left the house, I just hit my play button. And the song that came up is the lead song it was just by chance on the shuffle. It's the lead song that is in my playlist. And it was from the 1998 Olympics. Gloria Estefan sang a called Reach. And Google it. And the YouTube video of it from the ceremony is quite moving. I'm not going to sing, but I'm going to, and I've been known to sing a little bit. But what hit me this morning is the following. Some days are meant to be remembered. Those days we rise above the stars. So I'll go the distance this time, seeing more of the heights as I climb. That the more I believe, all the more that there is to dream, that the dream will be. If I could reach higher, just for one moment, to touch the sky, from that one moment in my life, I'm going to be stronger and know that I have tried my very best. And from that moment on to my life. Thanks for coming.